Hi everybody, Creative Katie Karen Burchill. Welcome to my channel. Today I have an art journal tutorial for you. I'm going to work in this old recipe binder. Now I'm on the back side of a page and I've got some staining from whatever was on the other side. So I gave it a coat of gesso and now I'm just brayering on some turquoise and some Prussian blue. I love the texture and the feel that it gives. Now there's texture paste on the other side, and that's giving some pattern to this side without having to work too terribly hard at it. I'm going back, I'm putting the turquoise, the Prussian blue, I'm putting on some white gesso to knock it back, and I'm just having fun playing with the colors. I love the Brayered background, the look and the feel that this gives, but did take some getting used to because it's somewhat unpredictable. I found that I liked it better when I switched to this smaller brayer. I had the 4-inch brayer, which I love for my gel prints, but for doing on art journal pages, I find that this 2-inch one from Ranger really fits the bill. I'm going top to bottom, side to side, keeping the lines straight. Loving the white spaces here. And I'm just enjoying the process. At this stage, I do not know that what I'm going to do for focal point. I just wanted to play with colors and have fun. And that's okay. You don't need to have everything figured out. Got a bit blotchy there, so now I had to go back and add more paint. And you just keep going till you get the effect that you like. I was contemplating putting a third color here. Grab the Kaleidoscope stencil from the Crafter's Workshop, and I'm stenciling on with the Prussian blue. I also I brayered on some of that purple. I forgot to turn on the camera, so that's why you suddenly see that purple color coming through. Then I grabbed the Happy Dandelion stencil, and while I love this stencil, and I've used it on multiple things, I have to admit that when I was going here, I kind of regretted my choice. And that's okay. You try something out, it doesn't work, you can undo it, or you figure out a way around it. But you always solve the problem. But right now, it just got too busy. I lost some of that interest from the brayered background, even though the texture's still there. So I grab my brayer and the colors again, and I brayer over top of it, knocking back some of that stenciling. Little bits still peek through, and I love that. It just all adds to the complexity of your background and the layered look, which is really what it's all about. Now you really can't make out that Happy Dandelion stencil. But I did want to bring back some of the Kaleidoscope stencil, and I grabbed that purple and I kind of put like a swoosh across the middle. It's very faint, but it's there. This is a sink liner, and it is a wonderful stamp. So I brayered on some white acrylic paint onto it, and then I'm stamping onto my art journal page. And I love that wave pattern. best stamp. Cost me all of $1.25 at Dollar Tree. I decided to use this Hummingbird's stencil, another one from the Crafters Workshop, and I'll put a link to the TCW Shopify store. You can also get them at Ninny's Napkins or my Amazon links. I've grabbed the TCW modeling paste and I'm going to apply it with a key card. Now the floral motif I want from top to bottom. So I start at the top and I'm using a key card to apply it and just putting the modeling paste through. Once I do this top part, I'm going to let it dry for a bit and then continue that floral vine down to the bottom. So it goes the entire length. And you can alter or extend a stencil pattern. Now, right about here, I'm thinking, oh, I've got so much white in the background. The stenciling of these flowers with the white modeling paste, it's not really showing. I know that I'm going to have to do some shading around the flowers to bring it out. So I extended that floral motif down through the whole thing, and then I grabbed some cobalt teal and I thinned it down to make a wash. And now I'm just going to brush over the entire background. And what that's going to do is knock back that white. It just lightly tints the white so that it's not in direct competition with the floral motif that I put down the left-hand side. At this time, my plan was to leave that white. As you see, coming up, I do end up painting it, but I think this was a necessary part. I'm using my angle brush. I find that that works best to get in those nooks and crannies. So then we have these two hummingbirds on this stencil as well, and this is the 6-inch stencil, and I'm putting the modeling paste through this hummingbird. I did play a little bit with where I wanted to put the sentiment in figuring out where I wanted it to go. But now that that background is knocked back, the hummingbird is going to, again, be that focal image. Now remember, you need to wash your stencils after you've put modeling paste through them. Now I wanted to bring back a little bit of the blue with this kaleidoscope stencil, so I'm just putting it on. And so we have some of it in the background, some was with that purple, some was with white, some was with the blue that's got knocked back, and now we're having another layer. And every one of those layers adds to the final page. So I was thinking I was done, and then I decided to colorize these flowers. I thought the magenta would look really nice against the teal blue background. So I'm grabbing the magenta paint with gesso and painting over the flower parts with a small brush. And I'm not trying to be so exact, and I'm not worried about leaving bits of white in there. And I love the pop of color that this gives to the page. So I go back in, I grab some paint, and you know, it's just a dollop of paint. Then I grab some gesso, and then I come in with some yellow to kind of tint it, get it a little different shades, build in some interest on these flowers. And it's really when you start adding you know, the lights and the darks and the different shades, that the flowers seem to take on life. Here I'm adding the yellow to it just to have a little bit of different tone. And I just keep adding color till I like what I see. Then I got my green and I have some cadmium yellow with the hooker's green, and I mix it and I paint out the leaves and the stems of the flower. And I decide to not paint the hummingbird. I took some gold paint and my stylus, and I'm just dabbing a bit of gold in the center of the flowers. And that little bit of yellow just really made everything work together. It just gave it that little extra something. So much so that I do grab my fan brush and water down that leftover gold paint and splatter the page with gold that looks so good against that blue teal background. Just covering up the hummingbird because I don't want to get it splattered. Loving that look. I'm doing the floating acrylic technique with my angle brush to shade around the outside, and I'm just using the dark Prussian blue. And then I'm doing a little bit of shading around the flowers and around the hummingbird. This is just to make it stand up against that background. Give it a little bit more weight on the page. I love hummingbirds. We have hummingbird feeders in our yard, and the hummingbirds, we have one breed that stays all year round. And so we enjoy watching them. Just adding some highlights to the flowers. And I decide to splash with some of that magenta onto the background just to introduce the color into the background. And I put the sentiment from a sentiment pack that I have. It says, "A moment lasts all of a second, but a memory lives on forever." It's like the hummingbirds, they flit in and then they're gone so quickly. This was a stamp set, and if I can find the name of it, I'll put it. It's all about memory and dreams. It's a great stamp set. Decided I want to do a little bit more shading, so I grabbed my General's Charcoal, the extra soft one, and I'm just adding a little bit more shading in certain areas, both around the hummingbird and the flowers. Please hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go over to Instagram and follow me at Creative Katie. Lots of little detail work, but all these little nuances at the end, that's what really bumps up always the page, right? It makes it, they're little things, but they do add up. Just adding that black around the edge in my usual two-toned shading. I'm loving the look of this so much. I think I might be taking this and you doing a very similar thing on a canvas. And that's one of the reasons I use my art journal. I do it, sometimes great ideas come, inspiration strikes, and I get something that really works that I want to duplicate and put on a canvas. Sometimes you just don't know when to say when to be done. Absolutely love it. Some close-ups of the finished page follow. I hope you give this a try, use some of the techniques and the tricks that I showed, and create your own page. Happy creating!